You're listening to XVGM Radio. Welcome to XVGM Radio, where the bits keep coming. I'm Mike.
And I'm Justin.
And this is episode 108, the PCFX.
That's a lot of letters.
Yeah, and a lot of people may be very confused because when we ended episode 107, we said we were going to dive into the Casio Loopy and all 11 games released for it.
That's right, and we lied.
We lied to you. You deserve it. Take that.
That's what you get for listening to a podcast like this one.
Yeah, you...
Who listens to a podcast about video game music styled like a radio show?
Only the best people.
People like Russ Lyman, probably.
Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. That's a deep cut call out, but...
Only because he's hit with his post today.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you saw it, but we're in his top 3 podcasts listened to in
nice.
Spotify.
Hey, how about that? That's excellent. Last episode, we said we were going to do a full spotlight on the Casio Loopy, and unfortunately, the music is just simply not available. We checked every resource we had. I even tied up Ed Wilson from VG Embassy and forced him to play 4 million hours worth of Casio Loopy games, and he's no longer with us, but, you know, maybe that's for the best.
It's a good thing he recorded so many podcasts and set them to automatic release for the next few years.
Right.
People will never know.
Yeah, true. But no, seriously, we tried so hard to get all the music. The only option that we would have had was to either, one, own a Casio Loopy, right, which we don't, or two, that was...
Get a genie and wish it?
I guess. I don't know. So what you would have to do to emulate it is you'd have to use MAME, which I tried to do, and there is an emulator for it, but the sound is incomplete. They are still working on building the sound for it. So I was thinking you could also like record like through Line Out. Ed and I were talking about doing that, but yeah, it didn't happen. So instead you get the PCFX, which actually is a really interesting system with a ton of really awesome music.
And also fairly obscure.
Very obscure, yes. We'll go into details further on this system in just a little bit, but let's first talk about the song that we came in on. It's from a game called Tokimeki Card Paradise, Koi no Royal Straight Flush, and this came out on the PCFX exclusive in 1996. This song was called Track 8, and it is composed by a group called Target Laboratory, and I don't know if the members that I'm about to mention are part of Target Library or they're just in addition to, but Yusuke Takahama, Satoshi Nagano, and Michihiko Shichi. So this game...
I'm going to guess it's a poker game or some kind of card game at least.
Essentially, yeah. So it's got 4 card games, blackjack, poker, speed, and a Japanese card game called Papanuki. And you are playing the games versus some young girls, some females, some teenagers.
Is this an arrow game?
It is. So when the girls lose, they take their clothes off. Okay. And yeah, so not for the kids. So don't play this with kids around. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's like strip card games, basically.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That's not super surprising, considering the line from which this console comes.
Yeah, a lot of games on this console are of this sort, so just be wary if you're going to collect for it.
Yeah. Similar with, the PC-98, the PC-88?
Yeah, Yeah.
So
yeah, Sharp X68000. Yeah.
I feel like the PC Dash insert something here tends to have a lot of eroge games.
Yeah, a lot of Japanese PC consoles, and this is very much modeled after, at least physically modeled after a PC.
Right.
A Japanese PC. So it does support mouse control for the NEC PCFX mouse, so if you buy the mouse you can play with it. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, so it's a card game. There's really not much to talk about with it in terms of the game itself. For the composers, I could not find much information on Target Laboratory, but Yusuke Takahama has done quite a bit audio-wise, and still working to this day. Started off with Makai Hakenden Shada on the TurboGrafx 16. Worked on Bad Dudes on the NES, the port.
Okay.
I guess working with SAS Sakata on that. Looks like they did a couple other SAS Sakata games and Data East games like Heavy Barrel on the NES, Side Pocket on the Game Boy, Werewolf, The Last Warrior, great game, great soundtrack. You know, bounced around to other stuff, Super Pinball, Behind the Mask on Super Nintendo, then Digital Pinball, Last Gladiators on Sega Saturn. It's just going to jump way ahead because they've been honestly very active all throughout the late 90s. They kind of fizzled out during the mid 2000s with Ribbit King, where they did the sound for that on the GameCube and the PS2. But then later on, they worked on Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games, Sonic Colors, doing sound editing and sound creation. Their last game is Yakuza Like a Dragon, which we actually talked about on the Yakuza episode with Alex Messenger from
VGM Journey.
VGM Journey. Music production was what he worked on for that. Satoshi Nagano is our second composer, and much like the other composer, is still working semi-regularly, but took a bit of a break in between the late 90s and the 2000s. Started off with Cat's Run, Zen Nippon K-Car Shenshuken. Worked on some Power Rangers Zeo pinball stuff, and then stopped composing in the late 90s with K1 Grand Prix, and then they jumped back on board with Resonance of Fate in 2010, and then later is credited for the sound design on the PS4 and Windows port in 2018 for that very game. Final composer is Michihiko Shiichi, and they are a composer that started off with Digital Pinball Last Gladiators on the Saturn, followed up with Winning Post 2 Final 97 on the Sega Saturn, Distrega, which is a fun little arena fighter on the PS1, Gitaru Man, which I think we've talked about before. Yeah. Dynasty Warriors 5 and the other Dynasty Warriors game. They signed on to do games with the old Wolf Team composers that ended up becoming part of Tri-Ace. So stuff like Resonance of Fate, Star Ocean, The Last Hope, Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness. Their latest game was Star Ocean The Divine Force, which, of course, that's the
Motoi
Sakuraba jam. So, yeah, 2022 on the PS5 and PS4 sound support on that.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're going to get into the PCFX and all the nitty-gritty details about this wonderfully weird and obscure Japanese console. It's the last it is the last NEC console that has ever come out. So we'll talk more about that after the break. Let's get into my first pick, which is going to be Battle Heat. This is a fighting game that came out for the PCFX in 1994. This song is called Track 2, and it's by Minoru Endo.
That's hot.
Welcome back. That was Battle Heat, and it was awesome. That was on the PCFX, the console that we are talking about today. This was, I believe, a launch title that came out in 1994. This is track 2, and it was by Minoru Endo. Man, that was awesome, huh?
Yeah, that was pretty neat. I gotta say, I was laughing a bit at just like the constant vibrato that was on almost every instrument.
Yeah.
And then, as I kind of, subsided from that, then they came in with the Mega Buster, and I was just like, oh man, where's Mega Man in this game?
Yeah, right.
The melody was actually really catchy. I gotta say, it feels kind of like, and a lot of these are going to have this feeling, so I'll just say it at the top. It has kind of like an anime feel.
Yes. I mean, a lot of the games are Japanese anime influenced, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Yeah. This game is really impressive. Like, I was looking over some gameplay footage of it, and it's really cool. So this is a fighting game. It's more of an interactive video fighting game, if you will. It's pretty weird. It's developed by Hudson Soft. This one is about 2 clans that are fighting for world domination. So there's the Noble Republic of Krith, which is led by a guy named Kai. And then there's the evil Holy Dark Empire led by Alamis, as well as the mysteriously armored Goats Van Dark. Yeah,
Goats?
These are goats, G-O-T-Z, but the O has an umlaut over it. Yeah. So you can pick between a bunch of different characters, but you're only able to fight the people in the opposite party. So you can't mix and match. It's like, the good guys fight the evil guys, and that's it. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like, it's not like Guile can fight Chun-Li.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's no alliances in Street Fighter.
Right. Well, it kind of is. I mean,
there's no crying in baseball.
Yeah, there's no Street in Fighter.
Yeah, there you go.
There's no Mortal in Combat.
Yeah. No, I get it, though. Like, M. Bison and the people that he has hired, the people that follow him are technically
right, like
bad
Balrog
guys.
and
Right.
Vega and Sagat. Right. Bob Saget. Yeah. What's really cool about this is it uses full motion video to play. So you have buttons that are mapped to different moves, like you can jump, you can punch, you can, all this stuff. And as soon as you press it, it triggers a movie to play.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the game has all these different movies that it plays, basically. And if you get kicked, if the character gets kicked down, or attacked, then you fall down a specific way. If, you can react and attack with your own attack, and it's really impressive. There is a tournament mode as well, but only for the Republic of Krith. Otherwise you choose like a free battle. So yeah, really cool. And the animation is fantastic. It's really well done. It's very visually impressive. The video quality itself is very high. So this one has a great soundtrack overall. We honestly could have done a whole episode on just this game music because it's all so good. Now that we've talked about that, we'll talk about the composer real quick, and then we'll kind of go back and forth on some information about the console, just so you can learn a little bit more about it. So as I was saying before, the music credits are for one person and one person alone, and that is Minoru Endo. Their credits start with the TurboGrafx CD game Tengai Makyo Fun Kabuki Den. Then they did this game in 94. They worked on Vertical Force on the Virtual Boy in 95. And then they kind of jumped around working on stuff for the Super Nintendo, working on some PCFX stuff, some Saturn stuff. They worked on a Tenchi Muyo game where they were director and arranger called Tenchi Muyo Mimiri Onsen Yukimuri no Tabi. And so then after they did arrangement with the Saturn Bomberman game, they kind of disappeared after working on a PlayStation game called Backstreet Billiards. So, yeah, that's their last competition credit. So, Justin, tell me a little bit about the PCFX.
I don't know. Much like the PC Engine, the NEC PCFX was created by a team-up between NEC and Hudson Soft. This was a 32-bit system that was released in 1994, and it only lasted for 4 years. The production was ended in 1998 because at that point, PlayStation had blown it out of the water.
Pretty much.
Visually, the console was built like a PC tower, releasing in a gray box. Due to there being no 3D built into the system, it simply couldn't really compete with the ongoing push for 3D gameplay, again, a la the PlayStation, and even the the N64,
Saturn and N64,
and the Saturn, yep. So that's really kind of what caused the console to fail. This would be the final NEC console, as you mentioned earlier, to be released. So in addition, the system released to Japanese markets exclusively at the high price point of 49,800 yen, and it was released on December 23rd, 1994, and over its lifetime of 4 years, ultimately sold about 400,000 systems.
Yeah. Even though it used CD-ROM based technology, the lack of a 3D chip meant that the console had to focus on 2D animated content for their games. However, the console had the best full motion video quality over all other 5th generation consoles, thanks to the use of 2 different chips. One is the HUC 6270 and the HUC 6271. The console had the same color abilities as the PlayStation 1 though, so it displayed 16.77 million colors on screen, and 62 games were released for the console. What's interesting though is that we talked a little bit about this game that we were just chatting about, Battle Heat. This is a primary example of how good the full motion video quality is. It really is so much better than anything that the Saturn and the PlayStation offered. Like, it's visually very impressive to watch. Yeah. And the fact that the system can just switch between those, just based on a button press, it can switch between those full motion videos like that is showing some pretty impressive power.
Yeah, that's impressive. And I mean, I'm sure that kind of technology was brought into other consoles as they went forward, because I mean the technology moved very quickly from between the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and all those generations.
I can't think of any other game that does this though, like with the full motion video fighting style.
No, yeah, your characters are on fighting sides of the screen. Then when you do something, it blends from this fighting a fighting game looking screen to, like you said, like an FMV or like a scene out of anime is what it really looks like.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like an interactive anime for the most part. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wild.
Yeah. Anyways, tell me about the audio on this thing.
So audio-wise, the PCFX actually uses the same sound chip as the PC Engine before it, which is the HUC 6280. This contains 6 programmable wavetable-based channels with 2 PCM channels added in as well. The audio is channeled through Redbook audio, so it's almost like a PC Engine and a PC Engine CD combined in a way.
Yeah, like some of the music that you'll listen to on this episode will be straight up Redbook audio, but then other times it'll be wavetable and it'll sound like it's right out of a TurboGrafx, or a PC Engine. So yeah, it's pretty interesting the way they did this. They kind of did it like a Sega CD in that sense.
Yeah.
Sega CD is, hooked up to the life support of the Sega Genesis, and a lot of the times you would have games that sometimes use the audio of the Sega Genesis, even though it was a Sega CD game, and vice versa for the Sega CDs. Like, some of the games used Redbook audio. So yeah, it really all depends. Pretty interesting stuff. With those 2 PCM channels added in as well, you may hear some songs that have some sampled audio too in this episode, so keep an ear out for that. We'll try to point it out if we can recognize it. So.
Yeah.
What do you got coming up for your first pick on this wonderfully wacky, weird episode?
So my first pick is a game called Chip Chan Kick. And this came out in 1996, and the track is just called Stage 3. The composer on it is Yoshio Furukawa. That was Chip Chan Kick from the PCFX, came out in 1996. Stage 3 was the name of that track, composed by Yoshio Furukawa.
That was an interesting selection there. I really like the tone here because it sounds like there's a lot of like Japanese sounding flourish to the track, but it also kind of has this Western vibe.
Oh yeah.
That melody is very like Western movie, like down, 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 down.
Yeah.
Down,
Like I could almost see something like this, different instrumentation, but I could see something similar to this in a game like Tin Star.
Yeah, something like that. It's got this really interesting balance between Western and Eastern cultures. It's really cool.
Yeah. The first thing that I kind of felt about the song is throughout the entire thing, I was expecting a shamisen, and I never really got a shamisen.
I was going to say, I'm a little disappointed, Justin.
I know, I'm just going to call it out because I had the same feeling. But
take this out of your salary.
All right. Give it to Janine.
Yeah.
What you do get is something that's maybe not similar to a shamisen, but it's similar in the same style of instrument.
It's like a wind instrument.
There's that too,
Yeah.
but there's also string instrument. So like some of those sustain notes, you can hear like it's like something beating on like that note. It's not just a regular sustain.
Yeah.
And to me, it sounds like a dulcimer.
Okay.
So I hear that and I was just like, oh, it's that weird stringed instrument that people play with like those tiny little hammers. And that's a dulcimer.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of like plinky harps going on too, like especially with that melody, that ding 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 ding. It's I forget what that's called, but there's like this Japanese instrument where it's like it lays, I think, in your lap or on a table.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's not a dulcimer, but it's basically the Japanese version of a dulcimer. Because I'm pretty sure the dulcimer is a European instrument.
Oh, okay.
But I could be wrong on that too.
Possibly, and then we'll have to take more out of your salary and give it to Janine. So
fair.
Doesn't look good for you. Tell me about this game. Chip Chan Kick. I'm getting like, I don't know, chocolate chips fighting? Chocolate chip cookies fighting?
Close.
Maybe it's just because I'm hungry.
So it's a platform game similar to like Bubble Bobble.
Oh, neat.
Or like Parasol Stars.
Okay.
So there's two playable characters. Both of these characters are little girls.
Of course.
There's no real difference between them in the gameplay. It's just really like player 1 versus player 2 type of a thing. They both use a large blob-like animal to hit enemies from a short distance in a yo-yo fashion. So it's possible to choose one of them as single player or use both of them cooperatively in the 2-player mode. So it's not really so much a versus game as a co-op. Let's play this together. But so each level of the game is broken up into 10 stages. And these are all like each stage like a single screen, like a board. That's the term we used to use with platform constructions. So you got to eliminate all the enemies who wander around the stage before being able to advance to the next one. So, very similar to, like I said, Bubble Bobble, almost like Dig Dug, a lot of those, platform boards where you got to clear all the enemies off the board. There's different obstacles or obstructions. And then this also takes advantage of that FMV stuff on the PCFX because there are a lot of anime cutscenes where you have this girl, the main character has this long brown hair, kind of like in two. Not buns, two like ponytails.
Okay.
In some scenes, she's got like a pink dress on. In some scenes, she's got like a schoolgirl uniform with looks like that Rendo Seru backpack.
Yeah, some of the girls in this, I'm assuming it's the two girls that you're playing as, look very questionably young, and yet there's, at least in the cover art, there's like panty shots and stuff like that, so not really okay, I mean,
well, definitely not by today's standards. I don't know how much you remember about anime back in the 90s, but there was a lot of that.
Yeah, but these girls look especially young. Like, I get it. Like, I understand that, our cultures are different, in terms of this sort of thing, but these girls look really young, like not okay young. There are more adult characters in this too, it seems, as well. There's like some older character that is scantily clad on the cover
with the
pink
armor.
Hair and plot armor, and some other guy who's I guess the bad guy in control of things and cheese.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's definitely, I don't know if I'd let a kid play this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, so I haven't seen anything super questionable in any of the screenshots, but I mean that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Sure, for sure.
A lot of what I'm seeing looks to be just shots from the FMVs, and they are all relatively innocent. The only thing that I guess I would call out, but you get this a lot in Sailor Moon. There appears to be a transformation sequence.
Of course.
And, in Sailor Moon, when we got it in America, there was a lot of editing where you didn't see detail.
Sure.
In the original Japanese, whether it's Sailor Moon transforming, Sailor Mercury, or even Chibi Moon in some of the other seasons, like when they go rainbow, all of their features are there.
Oh, okay.
So again, it's just another cultural difference between America and Japan because
Yes.
they don't have the same taboos around nudity, and
Right.
it's not seen as like in America generally just any kind of nudity is seen as sexual. So
Right.
That's why we don't get it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely cultural differences. So just, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I'm going to check out some PCFX games.
A lot of them are questionable.
Check them out alone. Now, the composer on this, I've heard their name before.
Yoshi Furukawa,
Yeah.
they don't have a whole lot. They started out back in 1991 doing Veritex on the Genesis. They did music design on that, and then music composition on Dragon Master Silk, Ryu, Shokan Musume, and as well as Cyberblock Metal Orange.
That's
in
why.
1993.
That's
Cyberblock?
what I know. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, also Veritex, because Veritex was also done by Hitoshi Sekimoto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's got a great soundtrack. Cyberblock Metal Orange also has a really good soundtrack too, so that's what I remember them from.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Their last game credit is in 1996 on the PC-98 for a game called Star Platinum.
Ah, okay.
That has nothing to do with the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series.
For sure.
Star Platinum is the name of a character in that series too. So.
Ah, okay. You're speaking Greek to me.
I realize, but just to anybody who's like, oh, Star Platinum, it has nothing to do with JoJo.
Okay.
So that's it for Chip Chan Kick.
All right. Looks like we're getting a phone call from our caller request hotline.
Oh,
Which I didn't think we were going to get any calls today, but let's go ahead and take that call.
all right. Gene, pass that on over. XVGM Radio. Who is this, and what can we play for you?
Hey, how's it going, XVGM Radio? This is your old pal, Zenki.
Sankey. Where do I know you from?
Oh, I'm the strongest fighter ever.
Sure. Okay. What can we do for you?
Well, I
sir?
was gonna challenge you to fight, but I think I want to hear some music.
Well, that's perfect, because that's exactly what we do.
I know.
Oh, you are a fan.
I am.
Good. What do you want to hear something from?
All right, let's play a little something from one of my games.
Okay, which one?
I don't know. This is your job. You figure it out.
I need you to tell me what to play.
Hello?
My dude.
Hello?
Hello? All right, well,
Let's just pick something.
yeah, you got anything?
Well, there is a Zenki game that was released. Zenki is an anime, and we'll talk about it in just a bit. But Kishin Doji Zenki FX Vajra Fight, which came out again on the PCFX in 1995. This is track 6, and it's by Aya Tanaka and Minoru Endo. That was Kishin Doji Zenki FX Vajra Fight. And that was track 6 off the PC FX exclusive game. It came out in 1995. That was by Aya Tanaka and Minoru Endo. What'd you think of that one?
You hit the nail on the head. That was pretty rocking. I liked the variety of instruments that they had there. The heavy guitars and all the squeedlies and the meedlies were very much appreciated.
Sure.
As was the piano, and I was actually surprised by the flute that was in there.
Yeah, I really dug the piano breakdown. That whole part really kind of vibed like a Street Fighter kind of like mid to late 90s Capcom fighting game.
Yeah.
You know, kind of intro music. Like if you threw that into like Marvel vs. Capcom.
100%.
Yeah, that really kind of vibed with that kind of style. So it was really cool. I really liked that a lot of composers were utilizing like more jazz style piano kind of stuff and styles like that. You know, Capcom was definitely abusing the crap out of it, but I like when composers utilize this stuff. It also kind of mellows out the track a little bit too, you know, because otherwise it's just like a full-on rocker, but then, you know, you kind of soften it up a bit and gives it a little bit more dynamic.
Yeah, there's more variety.
Yeah.
I also feel like, I could be wrong because I'm really bad with knowing timing of things. I feel like they preceded Capcom a little bit, or at least with some of those the music in those fighters.
Well, 95, that was right around the time when like the X-Men versus Street Fighter games.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah, because I'm leaning more towards Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2, maybe some
Darkstalkers had a lot of it too, that very kind of plinky piano. So yeah, I'd say they were right around the same time as each other. Okay. So yeah, I think that's applicable. This game is based on a manga and anime called Kishin Doji Zenki, which is about a character named Zenki who he was sealed away for centuries within this magical bracelet, and this family called the Eno family kind of carried this bracelet for generations upon generations. He used to be like a demon lord. And now, fast forward to, at the time, modern day Japan, there's these demons that are called the Seeds of Kuruma. They started popping up on Earth and just, ruining everything, like destroying everything, as one does. The latest line of Eno family members, who is a young girl named Chiaki. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. She needs to summon Zenki to make him fight for her. But by doing that, Zenki has reverted to a very not nice little boy. So, yeah, he's like very nasty kind of, well, you heard him on the phone. He sounds like a
brat.
Yeah, like a brat from Brooklyn. He had like a weird Brooklyn kind of vibe. Anyways, Chiaki has to also use the power of the bracelet to make him fight for her. So that's the whole purpose of it. So this is a beat 'em up, and so much like Final Fight, you get the choice between one of two characters, or if you're playing 2-player mode, you could play as both. And it's a belt side scroller, so you're moving from left to right, typically beating up bad guys, and then once you beat all the bad guys on the screen, you can move to the next section. Zenki, he fights in a more like, action beat 'em up brawler kind of style, whereas Chiaki uses like energy, like shoots
like
balls,
more ranged?
Yeah, more ranged attacks, so... One cool thing is it also, of course, has anime cutscenes in it, as one would expect. I will say visually the animation is really well done on the actual in-game gameplay, too. Like, it's very colorful, like very, very colorful. A lot of purple is being used, a lot of dark blues, a lot of greens, a lot of grays, but then also some really pretty like skylines too. So it's a really interesting game. Also, there's not much of a HUD either. Like there's a little tiny life bar, like a Mega Man style life bar, and that's it. You normally see like a timer and all this other stuff. When there's cutscenes, there'll be a little box that appears of a character while they talk. So yeah, and of course, it's got animated, audio with the Japanese audio. So pretty neat.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't know how it plays. I'm not sure if it's any good or not, but it's a beat 'em up, so there's really only one way to find that out, and that's to play it.
Right.
Aya Tanaka is the composer, the second composer on this, other than Minoru Endo, who we already talked about in an earlier break.
Yep.
Aya Tanaka started off with Tengai Makio Zero on the SNES back in 1995. credited not only for the music, but also as a karaoke song composer. Then they did this game, and then Bomberman Jetters in 2002 for the Game Boy Advance. There is a Bomberman Jetter game, I believe, for the GameCube, I think. But this is the Game Boy Advance version. Then they did the music for Ninja 5.0, the very, very now expensive GBA game. Mario Party 5, and then their final credit was for Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. So basically working for both Konami and then later working for Nintendo.
Yeah, specifically on that, she's uncredited.
Yes.
But it's because they did the music for Cabin Fever. They did the original composition for that was then remixed.
Right, yeah. So, and then we already talked about Minoru Endo, so we can move on to our next track.
All right, then. So my next game that I'm going to pull from is called Miraculum, The Last Revelation. This came out, of course, on the PCFX in 1996. The track is called Music 30, or maybe Track 30, and it was composed by Kenji Ikeda. Welcome back. That was Music 30 from Miraculum, The Last Revelation, which came out on the PSFX in 1996, and it was composed or created by Kenji Ikeda. I say that because he's listed as sound creation. There's nobody listed as composer or music, but when we get into Kenji, I believe you'll see he's done other music. So
sure,
best I can figure, Kenji was the composer.
Probably, yeah, most likely. Yeah. Very cinematic. Kind of sounds like something out of a Bond movie.
Yeah, that's actually, especially with that ending. That really gave me like James Bond vibes.
Yeah.
But I really like the primary instrument here. Obviously, the piano, very heavily featured, very classical. It felt like to me, and the other instrument that I picked up on there was the use of the triangle, which just the rhythm that they're keeping with it reminds me of something out of Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
Can't remember which track, but there's definitely a track that has that same kind of cadence and that same kind of triangle sound.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah. Neat. What is this game?
So, Miraculum is an RPG. There were a handful of these on the PCFX as well. Again, Japanese console, you get a lot of like eroge games, and you also get a lot of JRPGs.
Sure.
So, in the world of Miraculum, there once lived a powerful king named Siegwald.
Siegwald?
Siegwald.
Okay.
Siegwald.
Okay.
But his power was not enough for him, and he revived an ancient demon who had been sealed in a statue. But instead of granting him power, the demon consumed the king's soul and possessed his body, and then swore to destroy humanity once and for all.
Sure.
So you are a hero out to save the world and defeat Siegwald. I don't want to say generic JRPG plot, but there's a lot of JRPGs where, something crazy happens and something's going to destroy the world. And if it's not the world, it's a little bit more localized. But usually, like even Final Fantasy the first one, starts out very local in the Kingdom of Corneria with Garland, and then as you get into it and defeat these fiends of the elements, then you find out that, there's this weird time travel thing with Garland, and chaos is going to destroy the world. Like, it always comes down to, bad guys want to destroy the world, you got to stop them.
Right. I don't understand why bad guys want to destroy the world. I mean, take over the world and, like, enslave people, and that much I get, but destroy the world, you got nowhere to live, dude.
Yeah, that's where I keep all my stuff.
Right, and that's where you keep all your stuff, bad guys.
Not always. I mean, so this is a demon lord, so he may exist in another dimension, and he's just like, I don't care about Earth. I'm going to destroy it because it's fun.
Yeah, I guess.
You do have, the characters like Kefka, who wants to destroy the world. He does live there, and he's just crazy.
Yeah, true. Interesting.
So, yeah, the setting is like a medieval fantasy, so, swords and boards, magic.
Swords and boards?
That's sword and shield.
Oh.
That's what some people call swords and shields.
I've never heard that before.
Rhymes.
Okay.
Sword and board. The game itself, aside from like the cutscenes, is more 16-bit than 32-bit on this console.
I mean, that checks out for the most part.
Yeah,
I mean, most of the games on this console, really, it's, again, like we've been talking about, the system is primarily a 16-bit console with 32-bit capacity in terms of video.
I love 16-bit JRPGs.
Sure.
The music, as you could hear, CD audio quality music, and there's also voiceovers for the important conversations.
Right.
They do take advantage of the extra power of the console, which is great.
That's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
And as I said, Kenji Ikeda is listed as sound creation, which I said was probably the music. So they started out as a sound assistant on Cyber City Odeo 808, Kimono no Alignment. I didn't realize there was a video game for Cyber City Odeo 808. That's interesting. It's an anime.
Oh, okay.
I guess it shouldn't be that surprising.
Not at all.
But that was on the TurboGrafx CD, or that is the PC Engine, yeah?
Yeah, PC Engine CD. So
CD,
if it came out in the US, in the North American markets, basically, it was the TurboGrafx CD.
Right.
Or TurboGrafx 16 CD. Right.
Okay. Yeah. So they're also listed as the PSG programmer on Startling Odyssey 1 and 2, which came out in 1993 and 1994. Also on the PC Engine CD. Paku Paku voice on Samurai Showdown 2, 1994 on the Neo Geo, and Paku Paku voice again on Samurai Spirits, Kenkaku, Yubinan Pack in 1998 on the PlayStation, and their last credit was sound creator on Startling Odyssey 1 Blue Evolution in 1999 on the PlayStation. So yeah, I think just kind of picking up on the PSG programming, which I'm not sure if that's actually music now that I think of it, but there was nobody else that I could find in the credits that was related to music.
Sure.
So this is my best guess.
Yeah, I mean, that checks out, especially if they've done other stuff, so that makes sense. Yeah.
All right, so what do you got next here?
All right, well, next up, we're going to tackle a series that we've never talked about, but it actually is a series. It's called Power Dolls, and this is Power Dolls FX specifically, obviously released on the PC FX in 1996. This track is called Track 15, and it's by Hiroto Saito.
Konnichiwa. Watashi wa Nick Carney desu. That's Japanese for, hello, my name is Nick Carney desu. You probably don't know me, but you will now that I've opened your favorite import-only game store. That's right, if you love import video games, you're gonna love Carneyland. Carneyland has an incredible selection of hard-to-find gaming consoles, Japanese computers, and games of all kinds. We also sell an ungodly amount of eroge. That's in the adults-only section, of course. Want to grab the Casio Loopy and all 11 of its games? Of course you do. I got 20 sets of each, along with 15 consoles. Are you in need to hear the VRC-7 sound chip? Well, Lagrange Point is here to soothe your FM synth on Famicom needs. Do you yearn to play Bubsy 3D, but for the Japanese version? We got that too. Only the most obscure and ridiculous stuff is here for you at an insanely price-hiked cost. Hey, gotta pay the bills, am I right? These games are seriously expensive, but if you're a true collector, you'll love to shop at Nick Carney's Gaming Import Shop. Stop on in today for 20% off your favorite PAL Territory 5th generation console, and we'll toss in the European-style AC adapter at no extra cost. That's right. Finally, you could bring your Amiga CD32 with you on your European backpacking trip to play in Europe.
Come on down to Nick Carney's Gaming Import Shop today, located in East Oakenbury, right next to the Dunkin' Starnuts. We accept Bappel, Venmo, PayPal, and of course, Lisa, MasterCard, Canadian Express, and cash. No, we don't accept francs, yen, or rupees. Please stop trying to pay with those forms of payment. Also, $5 gets you into the back room. Sorry, no Florida or Utah residents allowed.
Thanks for joining us back on our PCFX Spotlight. That was Power Dolls FX, the PCFX game that came out in 1996. That was track 15 by Hiroto Saito.
Yeah, it was.
What did you think of this one?
So the fattest bass award goes to this track right now. Damn. I like it. It had a sick beat, it had a fat bass, and everything else about it was really cool, but those were the things that stood out to me immediately. Like, I'm always a sucker for, something that features piano prominently. I did like the piano breakdowns. I'm hearing a lot of things this episode that feel like early techno or proto-techno in different ways. Like, not that techno wasn't around in the mid to late 90s, because late 90s is when I got into it, but a lot of this stuff feels like it's on the verge of almost techno, just with how they have their beats and especially their bass setup, and it's really cool, and I'm kind of wondering if by the time we get to the end of this episode, if we're going to hear something that's actually techno. We'll see.
Yeah. What I really liked about this one was the electric guitar sample that kind of comes in. We get that that neck pull. Yeah. And they kind of spotlight it, like sprinkled it throughout the entire track. Yeah. Just as like a building stepstone. Like whenever you heard that, generally there was something else new coming in. I like that this song had like funk elements with that bass line, and then it kind of kicked in with that guitar pull, up and down the neck, and then once it then moved into the more like techno-inspired dance kind of beat, I feel like the song really kind of came into its own. It was different, and even though it got a little repetitive, like after, a little bit of time, it still kept me engaged and was really interesting. So I dug this track.
Yeah,
thought it was great. Yeah,
this is fun.
Yeah.
So what's this game or series all about?
This is a series that's a tactical turn-based strategy game series. This, in particular, this entry takes place during the 25th century, and essentially, mankind is now all up in that space. So we've colonized everything and built a bit of an empire and are ruling over all the space colonies, so to speak. And so the people that are running the show on Earth are not really the greatest. So there's this planet called Omni, which is just kind of spent on dealing with Earth. So their military has created a task force called the Power Dolls. Dolls stands for Detachment of Limited Line Service. Oh. It's an all-female giant robot combat unit. Yeah. So the humans that are inside the mechs are girls, and they're human. Yeah, and the robots are robots. Their leader is a woman who's claimed to be lovely and athletic, who's known as Hardy Newland. Yeah, like Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
And Newland.
Like
New land. Right. There's two different modes of gameplay in this. There's story mode and scenario mode. Story mode, basically, as time goes, like the battles lay out in a very like linear kind of style. Whereas scenario mode, it's like free play. You could play any of the story mode scenarios like back to back or all over the place. So, but yeah, there's basically this like grid. It's like a top-down battle map, and you attack enemies when they get within your range. There's all different types of enemy styles, like giant robots, ships, tanks, all sorts of stuff like that. So
kind of reminds me of Front Mission.
Yeah, a little bit. Or like Metal Max, like those types of games,
Okay.
Kind of, sort of. Or, like Gundam meets Metal Max.
Yeah. I was gonna say a little bit of Gundam in there, but
yeah, you're a little bit of Gundam in there.
Nice.
Sick burn. Hiroto Saito done a bunch of audio starting with Solitaire Poker on the TurboGrafx 16 in 1990, and then ported that game to Game Gear, which that's wild. Did a few other TurboGrafx games like Metal Stoker, Time Cruise, Kiso Luga for the TurboGrafx CD, and then started working on the Power Doll series with the DOS release in 1994. Followed up with the sequel a year later on the PC 98. And then this game came out, and then they did Power Dolls 2 on the PS1. So basically doing all the Power Dolls games for the most part. Their latest game was 2020, which was Ginga Force, which came out on the PC. And they're part of Studio Minstrel doing that. So
very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up I have a game here called Choshin Heiki Zerugar. That came out on the PCFX in 1997. The track is labeled as Zerugar 29 and was composed by Hideo Shimazu.
XVGM Radio.
Hey, that was Zerugar 29 from Choshin Heiki Zerugar, the 1997 PCFX game composed by Hideo Shimazu. And what did the opening to that sound like?
Like an anime.
Well, yeah. But it totally sounds like the opening to Runaway by Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
And
you could also just toss in those 80s drums. Not that Bon Jovi doesn't have 80s drums, but those very like synthetic, like do do do, those toms. Yeah, do 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 do. Yeah.
So that was a major reason that I picked it, just because of how 80s it sounded and the fact that it reminded me of that song. I also should mention I listened to most of the tracks on this album. Some of them were really long, and I could tell right away that I wasn't interested in them. But a lot of the tracks, actually, the melody motif in this song is a motif throughout most of the soundtrack.
Oh, neat.
Which is really neat. Yeah, and the other thing that I will say, if you are going to go check the soundtrack out, which I do recommend, it's got a really neat soundtrack where they keep that motif, but it's done differently in each of the songs. Like each of the songs sounds kind of different and unique in its own way. I also really liked just the arpeggiation they had going on in the background throughout most of this. It was kind of frantic and just a lot, kept the energy up.
Yeah. No, I really liked this track. It was fun. I was enjoying it. Yeah.
But yeah, so this game, Choshin Heiki Zerogar.
Another like style like mech game, right?
Yes. This is an action shooter game. And the story here is that the Galactic Emperor Zimu is conquering one planet after the other, planning to expand his empire to the known limits of the galaxy. So similar to the game that you had played from, conquering everything. The reason for his success are huge robots who fight in his armies, developed with technology invented by the genius scientist Dr. Lulu. But the Doctor understands that her inventions have caused misery and destruction to other nations, so she runs away, taking design plans for the giant robots with her. She arrives on Earth, Japan specifically, shortly after World War II, and with the help of local scientists, developed a powerful robot that alone can protect Earth from Zimu's attacks.
Oh, like Mega Man.
Basically, yes. Except bigger.
Oh, okay.
Ultra Mega Man.
Super duper Mega Man.
Super Mega Man.
Super duper Mega Man. Yes.
But yeah, so this game is the only shooter for the PCFX system.
Oh,
apparently.
okay.
Yeah, which continues the legacy of vertically scrolling shooters from the PC Engine / TurboGrafx era.
That's kind of shocking.
Yeah.
There were so many shooters on the PC Engine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this console only had, would you say, 63, 64 games?
Yeah.
So I guess they just never got around to anything else. And obviously you control the Zerogar mech as a plane and as a robot. So in boss battles, it transforms into a robot. One thing that's interesting about this game is it's got a leveling up system, as some shooters do, especially a lot of the more modern ones. But you're awarded experience points depending on your performance during a stage. Not necessarily for what you kill, but how well you do, you get experience.
Okay.
And after completing a stage, or if you get a game over screen, you're able to use those points to increase different parameters like health, defense, weapons, stuff like that.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But it seems like an interesting game. The screenshots that I found look pretty nifty overall. A lot of really cool looking anime cutscenes. And then not much to talk about with Hideo. He's only credited on 2 games. The first being Tonari no Princess Ralphie in 1997 on the PCFX, and this game.
Oh, okay. Well done. Well, it looks like we're getting another call on our caller hotline.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
All right.
I mean, it's an obscure system. Maybe there's some obscure people that like obscure systems.
Yeah, probably.
All right, Ginny, go ahead and send that on over. XVGM Radio, who is this and what can we play for you?
Come here, kitty. Oh, whoa. Oh, no.
Hello?
Hello?
Sorry about that. Ugh. Somebody let these cats into my new game store, and they're just going crazy, looking to get out.
Nick?
Justin?
Yes.
Who is this again?
Nick Carney. He's called in before.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, what do you want?
Well, I just wanted to let you know that I'm having a big sale on some European titles. Do you think you're interested in coming down? Maybe buying some video games?
I know I don't have the money to buy imports. How about you?
It is the holiday time. I don't have money for nothing.
Fair.
Plus, Materia Store's vinyl sale cleared me out.
Oh, yeah, we're broke.
Oh, well, that's expected. Well, just wanted to let you all know that we're going to be selling a bunch of PCFX games, too, and since I got you on the line, I figured, why not play some PCFX songs, okay?
Well, that is what this line is for, Nick. So what can we play for you?
Oh, well, how about a track from a game called Wakuse Kogekitai, Little Cats?
Ah, how appropriate.
Sure. What track do you want to hear?
Well, how about track 12?
That's very specific, but sure. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, bye, guys. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye, Nick.
See
Don't
ya.
encourage him.
I'm sorry. Wakuse Kogekitai, which is Little Cats. It's a PCFX game that came out in 1997. This track is track 12, as requested by Nick Carney. And this track was composed by Toyo Kusanagi and Michiko Tomita. Hey, you are back to our PCFX Spotlight, and that track was from a game called Wakuse Kogekitai, Little Cats. This came out on the PCFX in 1997, and that was track 12 by Toyo Kusanagi and Michiko Tomita.
It sounded very Castlevania to me.
I mean, yeah, the up and down kind of very kind of
between that and like Final Fantasy VI.
Yeah. I will say, man, this sound confuses me because it doesn't sound like TurboGrafx' sound chip, your PC Engine sound chip.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound like Redbook audio either. It almost sounds like MIDI. You know, like some sort of MIDI.
Yeah.
There's some interesting swoops in the background. Like if you go back and listen, there's some sampled like swoop noises, like swoop. And then like it would like lead into the dong, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that was really interesting to hear as well. I'm just very perplexed by this sound. I don't know if they're like sampling MIDI. Like what is going on in this song?
It could just be the sound font that they chose to use, because I agree, this sounds different than everything else we've listened to.
Yeah.
Although I think everything we've listened to so far has actually been Redbook audio. Maybe.
For the most part.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that hasn't been, but.
One of the tracks was definitely very PC Engine-ish. But yeah, this one really threw me for a loop. And I thought it was very interesting sounding, so that's, you know.
Yeah, no, I didn't dislike this one. It definitely was a little bit odd, and like you mentioned, I did notice those weird kind of sounds in the background.
Yeah,
the swoops, and then like the boom. Yeah, it almost sounded like a pop to me.
Yeah,
not like a record pop, but just like a pop noise.
Yeah.
Very weird, and I'm curious. I'm curious what the rest of the soundtrack on this sounds like, because again, just with how frantic that was and kind of like dancing mad-ish, I like that for what it did. But yeah, no, aside from that, weird pick.
Yeah, for sure.
Weird guy.
Thanks.
What are you talking about? You're not Nick.
This came out on a couple different systems. This also came out a year later on the PS1, and then it got ported to the PSP, the PS3, and the PS Vita, all within a little bit of each other. So, yeah, this one got a re-release later on. It's weird. Again, this is another mech-based game, like mech giant robot style game, but it's got some dating sim kind of elements too. It's very similar to a series called Sakura Taisen, which kind of mixes adventure and dating elements, like dating sim elements. So the galaxy is being threatened once again, Justin, by robots.
Of course.
Who are also enemies, who are also from a crazy, weird place called space.
Space!
So, yeah, these giant robots were deployed to a space station that is under the command of Colonel Goofy Regan.
Really?
Goofy Regan.
I never knew that was Goofy's last name.
Apparently. So these combat robots are navigated by some of the best pilots, which I'm going to give you one guess what their gender is.
Are they female?
Absolutely. Yes, they are teenage girls.
Oh, they're teenage girls.
And they're cute, of course. They have to be cute in this description. The Colonel, though, being goofy, is very busy. So he needs somebody to watch over the girls and make sure everything is good and train them and whatnot. And so that would be your main character, Major David Lowe.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's simulation mode where you can wander around the space station, talk to the girls. They could be trained. They can run competitions. You could do like a shooting range. All sorts of wacky stuff like that. And of course, pilot their robots. But really, you're just like making their schedules for, how they should run their little robot lives. I don't know. There's also turn-based battles as well. So it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of different attacks, apparently. They can change their weapons and use items and stuff while they're fighting. So it's pretty wild. The composers, Toyo Kusanagi, has very few credits to their name. This game, Mystic Mind Yoreru Omai, which came out in 98 on the PS1, and then Twin Story Kimi ni Tsuteta Kute, which came out on the PlayStation as well in 1999, and then that was it for them. Michiko Tomita has more credits, not many more. Mystic Mind, so they worked on that with the other composer, and then Asuka 120% Final Burning Fest on the PS1 and Windows as well. But that's about it, so I guess we'll move into your next track.
All right, my next track is going to be from a game called Angelique Special 2. This came out in 1996 on the PCFX, and the track was labeled as Mountain Road, and it was composed by Chinatsu Kuzu.
山の空は切ないよ雲がなきともに見える峰に立って呼んだって帰るのは山彦さ生きてくことは思い出しょって一人でただ歩くことだろう決して戻れぬ山道を行くようにさあ長い長い道のり歩こうこの痛みごとこの涙ごとあの遠く光る尾根の向こうにはそこに何が待ってるか誰もわからないまま疲れた時は行き交う人と触れ合いそう愛を見つける孤独な羊がでも今は一人黙って登ろう過ちにも目を背けずにただ高い峰を目指すためじゃなく命を生かすためにさあ長い長い道のり歩こうこの痛みごと涙ごとあの遠く光る尾根の向こうには暖かな明かりが待っている
Hey, you're back to the smooth sounds of XVGM Radio. Yeah. That was Angelique Special 2 with Mountain Road, composed by Chinatsu Kuzu. It came out in the PCFX in 1996. What'd you think? Time to relax.
Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah.
Nice relaxing track. Would have been a good exit track, too.
Yeah, that's true. I like my exit track, but we'll get there.
Cool.
So every track on this soundtrack has vocals like this.
I almost picked something from this, but I specifically didn't because of that very reason. Not that I dislike vocals in songs or BGM, but I just,
Yeah, no, and that was actually one of the things that made me double down. And I was like, oh, every track's got vocals. All right, let me figure out which one which one sounds like the one that I want to play.
Yeah,
and it was this one, and they're all kind of like these heartfelt love songs. I don't know if this is actually a love song because I don't know what the lyrics translate to, but
Yo Girl.
Yeah, considering the series, they are probably all some form of love song or possibly just kind of describing the situation of the game. So this game series, because this is another series.
Okay.
It is like a strategy simulation game. All of the games kind of follow the same sort of plot. Like the basic lore of the series is built around a queen, can be a different person in each game, who fairly and wisely rules a universe. By balancing elemental forces with the help of 9 guardians, she keeps the various planets in her domain stable and her people content. However, the powers of the queen and the guardians tend to fade over time, and successors have to be appointed. So in the first game, Angelique, the protagonist is a 17-year-old girl named Angelique Limoges. But she's been chosen by the current queen and her aide as one of 2 candidates from the Royal Smolny Girls Academy to become the next queen.
Okay.
So it's between, you play as Angelique, and then your rival is named Rosalia. And so you're each given a land to populate, and whoever finishes populating their land first wins and becomes the next queen. And it's done with the help of, like I said, the 9 guardians. They use their powers to make the people happy or to devastate the rival's land. So there's a lot of strategy involved, trying to make sure that your people are happy and their people are unhappy. And then at the end of the game, if you win, you get to rule the universe.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the first game is mostly about those 2 characters being rivals. In the second game, this game, it follows up off of the first game. So Angelique, it's assumed that you as the main character have won, and your rival actually becomes your aide, like your second in command.
Oh, your slave. Got it.
Jeez, that took a turn. Jeez.
Interesting.
But yeah, so in this game, there's a whole new universe or cosmos that's appeared, and so new queen has to be chosen. So now you're playing a character named Angelique Colette.
Okay. Cool. That's wild.
Yeah, it's interesting. Not something that is particularly like in my wheelhouse, but not the type of games that I normally play.
This is called Mountain Road, but it's not a credits theme. It sounds like a credits theme.
Right,
Yeah.
but they all kind of sound like credits themes, honestly. Like they all have this very like love type love song-ish thing.
Okay.
So yeah, the anime, like the cutscenes, almost remind me of like Cardcaptor Sakura. Calling back to what we mentioned earlier.
Sure.
Like the main character, she's just like her hair and her face. Something about her reminds me of Cardcaptor Sakura.
Okay.
And then there's also like a magical little animal thing in here that is similar to Cardcaptor Sakura. It's got that whatever that thing is. But yeah, this is
Pikachu.
Yeah,
Right.
This has some kind of like furry animal with a gem in its head.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely a Pokemon.
Its name is Muffin.
It's a chin Pokemon.
Shoe.
So another composer, Chinatsu Kuzu, with only a handful of credits, started out on the first Angelique in 1994. They're credited. This year credits them for SNES, but yeah, it looks like across all the games it's actually the same composer. And then Fushigi no Kuni no Angelique in 1997, another game in the Angelique series.
Yep.
This game, and then they're also credited in 2002. They ported that Fushigi no Kuni no Angelique to the Game Boy Advance.
Okay. Cool.
And that is it for the Angelique.
Okay, then. Well, my final track of this PCFX Spotlight is going to be a game called Team Innocent, The Point of No Return. And this, again, came out on the PCFX in 1994. This track is called Track 4, and it's by Kenji Kawai. Oh man, that was my final pick of this episode. Team Innocent, The Point of No Return. The track was called Track 4 on the PCFX game that came out in 1994. Probably a launch title since this game console released so late in 94. And that's by Kenji Kawai.
Now, this one kind of sounded like an anime ending theme to me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I could see that. I think it's got a very like Weather Channel jazz kind of vibe to it in a lot of, it's like Japanese jazz Weather Channel stuff, you know. Jazzpanese, yeah. Especially that like da 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 da, you know, that very like, this song kind of reminds me of in Mega Man X, the first or second Sigma stage music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Da na 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 da da na da na 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 na. Yeah. I don't know. It kind of gives me that vibe. Very floaty kind of MIDI synth kind of style. Again, it's hard to tell. I'm pretty sure this is actually utilizing the Redbook audio, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, this one sounded more like that than the Little Cats one did, for sure.
Yeah, agreed. The game, Team Innocent, The Point of No Return. First off, it takes place in the future. There's a group called the Galactic Police that have discovered there's a scientist named Cronus. They've been experimenting on humans. All these like genetic experiments. So there's a police chief that rescues, get this, and I know you're gonna like be completely shocked, 3 little girls.
What? No.
Yeah.
Not on this console.
And each one of them have some sort of like abilities or have been clearly experimented on. Saki, Lilith, and Ariel are the names of the characters. And now that they've grown up, they work for the Galactic Police Force. And they're trying to find out what happened to them, as well as try to help out the police. So they are sent on 3 missions, and it is an adventure game with action elements, very similar to games like Alone in the Dark. Yeah, a little bit of Resident Evil kind of vibe as well. This game actually does have some 3D elements to it, but it's all like pre-rendered kind of backgrounds, if you will, but it all looks super early 3D in that sense.
Yeah, like Quake.
I would even say, I mean, it's pre-rendered, so it's like, you know, the stuff that you were seeing on Resident Evil, but way more simplistic. Right. I would say, yeah. But still, hey, 3D, so there's that. There's also, of course, anime cutscenes, and they're fully animated, fully voiced and everything. And I don't know, it's weird because there's a stark contrast between the anime cutscenes and then the animated sprites and designs in the game. Much lower quality, still very bright looking, but there's like, it's a weird contrast. Like you've got these 3D elements and then you've got these 2D flat characters kind of walking around these locations. So it just looks off. So not really feeling this one, but music was cool, so I'm okay with it. Yeah. As far as the composer goes, Kenji Kawai started off with Bloody Warriors Shango no Gyakushu on the NES. Then followed it up with the Ranmahaf TurboGrafx CD game, which we actually, I believe, talked about on
the anime episode, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. Then worked on some other TurboGrafx stuff like Sorcerian, the port for Sorcerian. Games like Digital Comic Patlabor. What's the name of that anime series?
I always said Patlabor.
Patlabor? Okay, all right.
I'm probably wrong, but you know.
Blue Seed was their follow-up on the Sega Saturn. I think that was a Japanese exclusive. And then their final game was Paranoia 2 Savior, which came out in 2015. So that is it for me. So you're going to close us out.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to close this out with Farland Story FX. This is the PCFX game from 1995 that deals with some old PC98 games called Farland Story. And the track is track 04 and composed by Tomo Kasuhara. right, we're back, and this is the end of our PCFX-centered episode. That was track 04 from Farland Story FX. It came out in 1995 on the PCFX and was composed by Tomo Kasahara.
Pretty chill. This reminded me of something from a PlayStation game, for sure.
Yeah. This feels kind of like selection music. Like, I don't want to say character select specifically, but this felt very much like a holding pattern type of music.
Or cutscene music. I could picture this in cutscenes.
Yeah. When two people are talking.
People thinking and talking. This is a thinking and talking song.
Yeah. I can almost see this in like a Phoenix Wright style game.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the thing that really got me on this one was the bass groove. I got lost in that bass groove for a while, for longer than I should have, honestly.
You're still there.
Yeah. I mean, don't tell anybody. So just really, really chill bass groove and chill song overall. Kind of a nice, way to chill us out into the end of this episode.
I feel very relaxed.
But so Farland Story FX, as the FX implies, this is on the PCFX. It's kind of like a remake of the original Farland Story, which was on the PC98, I believe, or it was the PC88. One of those.
Okay.
It was on old PC-something console. The improvements are there to see. Like, the original graphics are very much like 8-bit, and this game, they are more 16-bit. It is a tactical JRPG, so if you like tactical JRPGs, I've actually seen a few people online talking about how they played this game, and it was a very different take on a tactical RPG that they really enjoyed. And apparently there was somewhat recently, in the last, we'll say 2 to 5 years, I'm guessing it's a ROM patch or something, but there was an English translation patch for this game. So, there's a lot more people on Reddit and whatnot talking about finding this game and how much they enjoyed it. So I'm not big on tactical JRPGs, just because I much prefer either turn-based or action RPGs, but the music on this one sounded pretty cool overall from what I listened to, and it looks pretty neat. So this, as I said, Farland Story is the first game of the series. There's a few of these. And the main hero is a knight named Ark, who's in love with a beautiful princess named Fario. And one day, Ark and his best friend Randia are out of town. A hostile army under the command of a mysterious black knight invades the town and kidnaps Fario. And thus begins his quest to defeat the enemies and rescue his beloved from their clutches.
Always.
So it seems like this game consists mostly of battles, save for the cutscenes. So again, with the anime, FMV stuff, it looks like they've taken all of the things that happen between the battles and just kind of turned it into FMV. And then so you're more just kind of playing the battles that happen throughout the story. I think there's probably a little bit of overworld travel as well, to be fair.
Okay.
But what I'm seeing seems to be very much like battles and cutscenes. In the battles, you move Ark and your party over terrain and attack whenever the enemies are in range, a la tactical RPGs. And there are 3 classes for the characters in the party. There's knights, which attack with swords, archers, which specialize in long range, and priestesses that heal. So you've got your melee, your range, and your healers, which is interesting in this type of a setting, which is very fantasy medieval. I'm surprised there's not as much magic other than the healing.
Yeah.
And so every attack leads to a counterattack from the enemy side as well as from yours. So you gain experience for every attack, and you can level up in the middle of a battle, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. That's cool.
That leads me to the composer Tomo Kasahara. They only have Farland Story credits. So the original PC98 music composition on the SNES version. So Farland Story also came out in the SNES. Maybe that's what the English version was, or the patch might have been for an SNES ROM. I just realized. Farland Story Daichi no Kizuna in 1995 on the PC98, and then Farland Saga Toki no Michishirube in 1999 on the PlayStation.
Okay.
All of that is music composition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that wraps up our PCFX spotlight.
Yeah, there's
How you
a
feeling?
lot of really good music in this console. It's a shame that it didn't last, but I gotta be honest, they kind of screwed the pooch by not including any kind of 3D on this thing. You know?
Yeah. The other thing that surprises me about that, I mean, it was different in the 90s when it was all going on, because nowadays, what do you and I like to play a lot of?
2D games.
Yeah, 2D retro style.
Sure.
Video
Stuff we
games.
grew up with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, looking at it from this perspective, I'm just like, oh, I can't imagine how this thing didn't survive. But then I think about what I was doing in the mid to late 90s, and it was, oh yeah, the SNES is cool, but look at Tomb Raider or Crash Bandicoot. Like, it was all about that 3D stuff.
There was such a huge push for 3D.
Yeah.
When game companies were putting out 2D games, news media was trashing them. They were just like, this is 2D, this is not the way of the future, 3D was the way of the future. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of come full circle where people are now appreciating 2D again and exploring new elements of 2D within the realm of what a 2D game could be. So,
exactly.
Yeah, and I think that this console kind of did that in a way. There's a lot of really unique and interesting uses of 2D here. We talked about a little bit with that track from Battle Heat. Mm-hmm. We talked about it a little bit with Team Innocent as well. Some pretty unique and interesting stuff here. So I was feeling this system. I kind of want to emulate it to try it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like it's got some interesting stuff to play with. So.
Yeah. So that's going to do it for us, but now's the time of the episode where we pick our favorite tracks from the stuff that we played. This is going to be pretty tough. Man, we picked some good stuff here, Justin. I don't know. What do you think?
Still like my Miraculum track. I like your Power Dolls track. I think I might actually go with that.
Yeah.
Your Power Dolls FX track 15.
That was really good.
That was fun.
I was really liking my Battle Heat track. That was probably my favorite. A lot of really cool stuff in that. For yours, I really liked the Farland story, actually. That was really good. And I also really liked the Angelique special, too. It's a nice chill-out track.
Yeah, both of those.
Yeah.
Good chill tracks.
Yeah. What were your favorite tracks on this episode? Let us know on all of our social medias or reach out to us on Discord, Facebook, email, the whole 9 yards. So we'd like to take a moment to thank our Patreon patrons, without whom this show's continued improvement would be impossible. They are Cam Worma, Jordan and Anson Davis, Rage Cage, Kung Fu Carlito of the Heroes 3 podcast, Scott McElhone, Chris Myers, Brad Austin, Chris Murray, Llama Adam, Marcus Stewart, Nick Davis, and Ryan McPherson.
If you would like to become a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/XVGM Radio. There you can see the different tiers as well. Just $1 gets you a thank you at the end of the show and access to our monthly live shows.
You can visit our website, xvgmradio.com, where you can listen to all the episodes and learn more about your hosts, as well as any of our guests or composers that we've had on the show.
If you'd like to reach out to us, you can always email us at xvgmradio@gmail.com.
If you've liked what you've heard, please consider giving us a review on iTunes.
You can join our Facebook group and chat with other VGM lovers at facebook.com/groups/xvgmradio, where we talk about everything from current game news to sharing awesome VGM tracks or just talking about the podcast itself.
You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle on both of those sites is @XVGMRadio.
If you don't have any other social media or just want to try something unique, check us out on our Discord group chat. Links will be in the show notes.
All right, Justin, we are closing out 2023. We're done.
We are done.
We've got a live episode that is coming out on the 10th of December. So by this point in time, it's already been released. Patrons can go check that out. In that episode, we let you guys pick. So patrons got to pick what they wanted to hear of 3 different options that we gave them for topics, and then we talk about it.
Yep.
So that was December's live show to close this out for the year. Also, XVGM After Dark, which is where we play VGM vinyl, was Symphony of Zeal was our release. That was on 12/12. You can check it out on Justin's Twitch, which is twitch.tv/shock83j16.
Yes.
So go check that out as well. That's a great little thing that we do once a month where we get together at Justin's house and then we listen to video game music vinyl. We've done a lot of different stuff. This one happened to be Chrono Trigger, which had a re-release, a reorchestrated version called Symphony of Zeal. So if you like Chrono Trigger, you're going to love it. Go check that out as well. And we're on video talking about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to actually do that.
Yeah. That's going to be awesome. Or
Yeah.
it was awesome.
Yes, I mean, I will assume that it was awesome
Yes.
because that's usually the truth.
Yeah.
And then coming up, we have
For 2024.
in January of 2024, on the 16th of January, we're going to listen to the vinyl for Lagrange Point.
Yeah. That is a great soundtrack which utilizes the VRC7 chip in the Famicom. Well, it's a cart-based chip.
Right.
But yeah, it uses that expansion sound chip, so get ready for some amazing FM synth-based video game music on the NES or Famicom, which is going to blow your mind if you haven't heard it. So that's going to be VGM vinyl. But for the episode that's going to bring us in to 2024, Justin, our 6th year of doing this podcast, who are we going to be talking to? What are we going to be doing?
Well, this shouldn't be any surprise to anyone who's been listening to the show for any amount of time.
That's right.
Because January means Nico. We bring back our honorary third co-host.
That's right.
Nico Tengoku, to listen to some emotional video game music with us.
Yeah, that's going to be our topic this time, emotional music with Nico. But that'll be coming up in January to kick us off with the year. So join the three of us next month in a brand new year. This is Mike
and Justin
signing off for XVGM Radio. Hey, you're back, and that was rockin'. That was keep
Konnichiwa, watashi wa Nick Carney desu. That's Japanese for hello, my name is Nick Carney desu. You probably don't know me.
Sorry.
I heard you laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
I missed the second Desu, and I was just like, oh, that's what you said. That just got me when you said it.
And it's by Aya Tanaka, Minoru Endo. Oh, that's it. Whoops.